Go check it. Go check it. It's probably on for 5 more seconds.
It is. What's up, ScrubHub? Welcome to another episode of Shorts where Doc and myself jump into the entirety of a game in one episode.
In one episode, I'm Doc Bishop.
And I am Pants.
What is up, everybody? What's up, Scrub Butts?
Yeah, what is up, peeps?
What game are we talking about today? Are you going to tell us? Since it's your favorite game of all time.
Wouldn't it be really funny if we just talked about it the whole time and
never said what the game is? So in this game, you play as a character. You get a character customization at the beginning. Let's see how long it takes.
Yeah, let's see.
You can choose a couple different classes. You can even choose a starting gift in the PS5 version.
You can, yep.
You can't in the PS3
Yeah, you
version.
can. That's right.
Most people already know what this game is.
Probably because of the title.
I forgot. If you saw the title, you already know what we're talking about.
We're talking about Demon Souls today.
Demon Souls, and, not Dark Souls.
That's right.
Not Elden Ring.
Why is it that every time we jump into a Souls-like game,
Demon Souls,
it seems like we have to preface it with it's not Dark Souls?
Because Dark Souls is like... Okay, so we did Mortal Shell.
That's right.
Several months ago now.
Yeah, that's a while ago.
If you've been with us since
quarter.
Then, it was last quarter. It was the very first episode we ever did. My Mountain Dew's giving me the burpees. So Mortal Shell was a Souls-like game, and then Dark Souls is the predominant Souls game. Like that's when most people, if you're like, oh, Souls, because it used to be Souls-like, then it became Soulsborne because Bloodborne came out, and people really enjoyed Bloodborne, so the franchise became Soulsborne. And Demon Souls is like, it's the first one. It's the original one, but it's also one that most people didn't play because it was exclusive to the PlayStation.
Yeah, and it has, for the most part, remained that way. Actually, it's still that way. Yeah.
It's a PlayStation exclusive, and originally was only on the PS3, which at that time, I mean, PlayStation 3s were ridiculous. Most people had Xboxes, and so no one knew about Dark Souls, or they didn't know about it until Dark Souls came out, and Dark Souls came out on the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
So the majority of people were embraced in there, and then from there, it's only gone up and up and up, and most people know those.
And that's when I first experienced it. It's funny, like, you always... maybe being a Dark Souls player now, or I should say like a Souls player in general, because we're playing Elden Ring currently.
We're playing Elden Ring. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So,
we just got
do you think it'll change the like Elden Ring is its own thing. It's not Dark Souls. Oh, it's not Bloodborne. It's not Demon Souls. Obviously, it's its own thing. So, but kind of like where I said, it's like Souls-like, and then became Soulsborne. Do you think we'll get something like
Ring-like or Elden-like? Like a Ring game. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound good.
Breath of the Ring.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like, or do you think it'll just stay a Soulsborne game?
Well, definitely.
Because people still call the rune Souls, even though it's not.
That's interesting because, well, the people I think that do that are the ones that have always played Souls games, and they're used to collecting souls and using those for your currency. But there's, I think, an astounding number of people that are playing Elden Ring or a Soulsborne game for the first time that have never played it first time.
There are a ton, but I mean, like, people did that with Mortal Shell. It's like it wasn't Souls, it was Tar.
Not as much though. Like, what was the number?
Bloodborne was like blood, but they still call it Souls. Sekiro, they still called it Souls. Like,
but what my point is, like, this game has like, and this goes into the point that the question you just asked. There's like a ton of new players.
Oh, there's a ton.
New game, you know.
Elden Ring just sold 12 million copies.
So yeah, exactly. And that was the numbers. Like, so the people calling the runes Souls are the ones that started playing Demon Souls, playing Dark Souls and stuff. And that's only the people that we see that we correct because it's funny.
Here's my question.
This is not an Elden Ring.
No, it's not. And it's not really. It's not really an update either.
It's the second time I've said that.
But here's a question. Do you think there's a point
Well, I was gonna say that, like, if it's like because you said the Soulsborne type thing, do we think that Elden Ring is gonna have as much of an impact?
That's true. And then I have a second question,
Um,
which is not even about Demon Souls.
I think it is because unlike there's been a couple jumps in the Souls games where I think there's been a lot of new players.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls is, I think, one of them.
Dark Souls 3 brought a huge
Dark Souls 3, yep. That's another big one. Bloodborne, I think, brought an interesting crowd to the Souls genre.
They did.
But it didn't necessarily bring the numbers that Elden Ring has brought. So,
well, Bloodborne's another PlayStation exclusive.
Exactly. So with the accessibility to Elden Ring and not only the playability to it, because if you get stuck in a place where the boss is too hard, the enemies are too difficult, you either just go somewhere else or you run around them and just kind of enjoy exploring for a little bit, which other Souls games don't have.
Like
the point of the game.
You don't benefit from exploring.
You do, but it's not like this, and there's no space to explore, really. That's not true. There is space to explore, but Elden Ring is clearly, as soon as you get to the world of the Land Betweens, like outside, you very quickly understand that it's clearly like going to be an exploration game.
Yeah.
Other Souls games aren't like that. Which again, like I said, with all these things, it being on every console, basically, outside of like Switch, and being able to like choose where to like, maybe you don't want to fight this enemy, you can go around. It's so many new players are coming in. It's kind of have an impact similar to like how Souls made that name as a Souls game, or Bloodborne got added to the little tag. It's a Soulsborne game. I don't know necessarily that it will have. That's why I just say
FromSoft. It's a FromSoft game.
Yeah, it's just a FromSoft game. You know what I mean? That's so much easier because we've talked previously, and we'll dive a little bit into this during the Demon Souls portions of this episode. But they've really just done, FromSoftware in particular, has done a really excellent job with taking this idea of the Souls game, quote unquote, and fleshing it out to the point where Elden Ring is a game that's accessible, but is still accomplishing, I think, a lot of the key ideologies behind what a Souls game is it's hard, it's going to teach you a lot of lessons, and it's convoluted. It's a great RPG on a basis standpoint too, but it's convoluted. It hits every note, I think, in a really nice
and mostly convoluted in the story. Like, you're just not going to get the story in the first playthrough. You have to play it multiple times. Totally. You have to understand what your decisions and options are. So I have a real quick question, and then all this is relevant to what Demon Souls is and is not. But in regards, because I say people keep calling the runes souls in Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a point when it's disrespectful to the company? Like, they said, hey, look, here's Elden Ring. It is not Dark Souls. It is its own entity. It is its own thing. And they go and they do all this lore and all these things, and people instead still call the Points of Grace bonfires when it's like, it's not a bonfire. It's not. It just isn't. And they still call the runes souls, even though it's not. It isn't souls. Do you think there's a point where people are, and I know several people that are just like, no, it's souls. No, it's bonfires. And just kind of a slap in the face to the creators. Do you think there's a point where that's just being pretentious and just being a jerk about it? Or do you think the majority of people, it is honestly just force of habit?
Well,
because we changed very quickly.
Well, I think there's a couple different schools of thought there. One is the way that you're viewing the person, you know what I mean? So it's like, and a lot has to do with how they view themselves. So if they're being a troll, just don't pay attention to them. If they're clearly being like, well, no, they're actually souls, like, because it's so, just don't pay attention to them. Don't have a conversation with that person. Another viewpoint would be, if I was having a conversation with another person that wasn't from a FromSoftware person, and say we're both assuming that we're both respectful people and we're not trolling, and I'm like, and I fought with this enemy and I lost some of my souls, and you're like, oh, they're actually runes. And I'm like, oh, you're right, they're runes. Mm-hmm. But that in that small moment, we made a connection because we both understood that I meant runes, but we've played so many Souls games that I said souls. I think there's a lot of like I said, there was connection there made, as long as we're not being either a troll or an asshole. And on the flip side, with you mentioned, is it disrespectful to continue calling them like a bonfire or souls? Again, if you're being a troll, you're just being a troll. Don't pay attention to those people. Their opinion's not important. But if I'm having a conversation with, whether it be something negative about the game or positive, because I think it's fine to have critique either way.
Of course.
And if I'm talking with a FromSoftware person, I'm like, blah, 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 lost on my souls. And he's like, he or she may not even like say anything about it because they know.
Yeah, they understand.
Because I would see that they, in a more of a positive light, they respect that we're just Souls players, so we're used to calling him that. I mean, you've spent so many games and so many hours calling him Souls.
That's why I said,
I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
That's why I said, do you think there's a point where it's just being pretentious and being a jerk about it? Clearly, or do you think it's mostly force of habit? Because, like, I understand.
Clearly, most of the time, force of habit.
I understand if it's force of habit. Like, I'm not a fan when people go out of their ways. Like, I'm that type of person that I respect something. We're getting back to Demon Souls, I swear. I respect something enough to just like, okay, this is what it is in this universe, so that's what I'm going to call it, you know, to the point. And I have done it on the podcast where you're like, oh, Souls. I was like, runes.
You care about it a lot, but that is like, you're not understanding from my. I think that is kind of.
I understand, but I have literally been told by someone that I know when I said, oh, the runes. He's like, no, they're souls. Like, he doubled down on it. Well, at that point, I'm like, I just don't like that mentality. I'm like, I understand like what you meant, and I was being kind of like bantery by correcting, but then to turn around and just double down, and like try to correct me, I'm like, nah, that's where you cross the line.
I mean, that's trolly, you know what I mean? That's trolly, like.
And you know what? We don't like trolls here at the ScrubHub.
Yeah, it's easy, I think, for me to just eliminate that. I just don't pay. I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, if you start being like, it fizzles out of my.
There's definitely a point where you can just eliminate.
It just fizzles out of my zone of caring about it to the point, and this goes into having conversation with people about video games. Mm-hmm. And this, good advice. If you're talking to somebody about video games and they start giving you that lip or that attitude where the conversation's not constructive, and this goes even. I'm going to say it louder for the people in the back that aren't listening. If you're that person that's doing that, nobody likes talking with video games or talking with you about video games because you think you're above anyone else's opinion. And guess what? You didn't make the fucking game. And granted, we're sitting here talking about video games. I know,
we're just talking about the games.
And that's why we're not labeling this as a review. We've never labeled this as a review. We're in a way reviewing the game, but like...
Oh yeah, I think there are points where we're criticizing parts,
totally, but I'm just totally going into critical that bought points. The game. Just like how many copies did Elden Ring sell? 12 million?
12 million.
I'm just
yesterday or day before.
Exactly. Just the same as Demon Souls. I mean, Demon Souls didn't sell that many copies.
I don't know the numbers on those. I'm sure it did.
I'm sure it sold a pretty good amount.
Oh, maybe not. Oh, you said Demon Souls. Maybe not like 12 million. I don't know the number on that.
Yeah. But just like...
But not freaking 12... Elden Ring did 12 million in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
This is 2 weeks tomorrow, I think.
That's crazy. But like, just like Demon Souls and the 12 million people that bought a copy of Elden Ring, I'm just like one of those 12 million people that played it.
How many people?
12 million. Got the number right that time. I'm just like every other person that's bought it and played it. I just so happen to decide to want to put a mic in my hand and sit down in a purple chair with Doc and talk about it. So,
couch,
chair, couch, fucking cock.
That's the exact same thing. I knew what you meant, but I had to correct you.
See, so, I just don't pay attention to attitudes like that.
Yeah, it was just a question. I didn't mean for it to go on forever. I was just yeah. So, Demon Souls. Let me say this: Demon Souls. Okay, out of all the Souls games in general, this includes Elden Ring. Man, until Elden Ring came out, Demon Souls is my favorite Souls game. Like, I just love the game. It got remade. So it originally came, it was FromSoftware, and I believe Atlas published it.
Yeah.
On the PS3. And someone else. So like someone else was in there too, and I don't remember. And then it got redone from the ground up, from the framework up, a borderline 1-for-1 remake. I mean, new textures, new everything. Like some of the levels in the PS3 feel super small compared to the PS5 counterparts, even though it's basically 1-for-1.
Yeah, there's a lot to do, and we noticed this when we had them pulled up side by side with the camera angle, how like the actual camera is shot.
The point of view is a little bit different.
The POV is a lot wider, in my opinion.
I mean, the graphics are just phenomenal. And Blue Point did the remake. They did a phenomenal job. It feels like Demon Souls. I don't know why I'm yawning all of a sudden. It feels like Demon Souls while feeling like Dark Souls, if that makes sense. Like it actually feels like a Souls game, where Demon Souls itself is originally on the PS3. Does not feel like a Dark Souls game. Like it's very loose compared to what Dark Souls has done.
Because we said this earlier.
They're very, very similar.
I think it's because Demon Souls is clunky. It's super slippery, and the movements are kind of bad. And in my opinion, I told you this earlier, and I'm sure a couple other times too, even on stream. I don't love the construction of the PS3 controller. So it's not as like the thumbsticks and the movement on the controller itself, I don't think are as ergonomically constructed or crafted for a game like that, for it to be as slippery. Like there's certain...
I'm gonna sneeze.
You want to sneeze? Purple elephant. I was trying.
What were you saying?
Purple elephant. If you look at lights and say like think purple elephant to yourself, you won't sneeze. I promise.
That's counterintuitive. We'll have that conversation later.
I promise it works.
There's no way.
But for this game to just be, as it just had, I think sometimes in certain categories a lot working against it. The controller, in my opinion, wasn't great. And you know what? Talking about the controller, the physics weren't great in the game. It was super trolly, by the way, which was a choice that someone made. Someone made a choice.
So let's talk about Demon Souls. So in my opinion, this is an opinion. I think Demon Souls, out of all the Souls games, I think Demon Souls is the hardest.
I would agree.
And there are several reasons. And I know there's people rolling their eyes right now like, oh my God, Demon Souls isn't that hard. Listen, Demon Souls is the hardest because the game itself is so trolly. Like, not only are on the PS3, not only are the controls garbage, they're so loose. Like you're walking down a path, and if for some reason you have to swing the camera, it just swings super fast, and like it doesn't have that like weight that the like Dark Souls games do. And the level design is you're just running down a path, you're like, and there's just a little hole. And you're like, and you fall and you're dead.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to start the whole level over again.
Or there'll be like, same scenario, and the hole will be out of sight, and there will be just the smallest little crack for an enemy to fit in to the left, and it'll just, no enemies in like 10 minutes. Boop. Fucking dead. And the other thing about Demon Souls, there are checkpoints, but there's not real checkpoints in this game.
Yeah, the checkpoints are after each boss. The beginning of the level and after each boss.
Which is just... Sometimes if you're not hitting your shortcuts and stuff, it'll take you like 20 to 25 minutes to get back where you were.
Especially if it's a hard level.
Yeah, after dying. And it's definitely a test of your persistence.
And the game is... Man, it just feels it does the same thing. So you can level up your endurance, you level up your health.
Yeah, the stats
you level
are
up your strength, you level up your dexterity, you level up your magic. They all change per each game. So you still have all that, but sometimes in a Souls game you have several options, but you basically have 2 options. You have a strength build, quality build, or you have magic. And the problem is, if you do one, that's the one you have to commit to.
Yeah, you really have to commit.
There isn't really, in Demon Souls, there isn't really a middle ground. You can't say, hey, I want to be a battle mage. Because your points are going to be too distributed that you're not going to be doing enough. You
need to be focused. Your character needs to be really focused. But we even experienced that when me playing it.
Yeah. But I mean, if you strength out, strength dex quality style, you're going to do pretty well. And if you go magic, you're going to do pretty well. And then what's going to be your challenge is going to be the levels. The level design and stuff like that is not the friendliest on the PS3. Again, the PS5 version is a 1-for-1 remake, so all the issues that are in the PS3 version are still there as far as level design. But it has the weighty camera that the Dark Souls games feel like.
Yes,
I feel like they did that.
Upgrade.
The controller upgrade. That's something I was going to say. I was like, what's really fascinating about you saying that the controller, you don't like it. I remember when the PS3 controller came out, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like compared to the PS2.
Yeah.
And then the PS4 was the same way. You're like, oh. And then it always feels like from going from one and then going backwards, it always feels like this like plastic, like fragile controller. Like, oh, this is gonna break.
We're a little pampered now with the newer controllers because those PS5 controllers are
the PS5 controllers are nice. The new Xbox controllers are nice. Man, with the grips so on the back. They're just getting better and better. And going back, so I picked up the PS3 controller just recently, again because we were playing Demon Souls just a second ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, this thing feels like if I drop it, it's going to shatter in a million pieces. Dude, it is cheap plastic.
It's gaudy.
I need to find my 6-axis controller and let you hold that one.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly.
Dude.
But exactly.
But what you're saying, though, like with going back to older controllers and stuff and be like, ugh, this is terrible. Admittedly, because we were playing Legend of Dragoon, obviously not too long ago, and for portions of that, I was able to use a PlayStation controller when we were playing it here and whatnot. I don't mind the PlayStation 2 controller.
Oh, no. The PS2, you know why? The PS2 controllers just have that weight, and they have a solid plastic, and they feel honestly, good.
But the sticks, it's the biggest thing for me is the sticks, because on the PS3, the stick radius was so wide.
We should compare those.
It was so fat.
And compared to the PS2.
Yeah, I don't, honestly.
Like, it doesn't feel... It might feel a little... I don't know if it feels bigger, but it feels more... I don't know how to phrase this. So, Demon Souls.
You don't have real checkpoints because your checkpoints
you don't have real checkpoints.
Are walled by bosses.
You don't have world exploration that started with Dark Souls. Let me say that. Dark Souls started with the world exploration, even though it wasn't open world.
Yeah.
You still, like, you got dropped in and you're like, boom, you're at your first bonfire.
And then you had to go.
Where do you go?
Yeah.
And you had 3 or 4 different directions you could actually go and discover. Demon Souls doesn't work that way. It's broken into a level kind of a system where you have these archstones that are in the Nexus, which is your central hub, kind of like Firelink Shrine or the Round Table Hold in Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have these 6 archstones that are up on the pathway. One of them is destroyed. No one's ever been able to access it. It's never been released content. It was supposed to be something cool. So effectively, you have 5 archstones. The community has ultimately called them from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
And then each of those archstones, you go in, boom, you're in the first level of whatever archstone, and your goal is to get from the starting point to the end point, which is the boss, and beat the boss, which then unlocks the next stone, which is your checkpoint. There's no exploration other than... It's called a Nexus Stone.
Oh, okay. It's just a Nexus Stone.
Or the Archstone.
Which, I mean, and after that, you can develop... I mean, there's even more pathway into each of these levels, which...
Yeah.
So you said there's 5 sections. How many... I mean, do they all have the same... There's 2 areas that have different amounts.
They roughly have the same. So effectively, you have Area 1, Area 2, and then the Archdemon, which is like the big big bad of that world, right?
Yeah.
So you have area 1, so boss 1, boss 2, boss 3. Those are your goals. Usually it's a whole level, and then the boss is just the last part of that. The only exception is the first Archstone, which has the tutorial area.
Oh, okay.
First.
I see.
You have the tutorial area, then the boss, then the second area and a boss, then the third area and a boss, and then a boss.
Gotcha.
So it's got 4 or 5 Archstones.
I see.
But
so in total, there's actually a decent amount of like bosses in this game.
Yeah, I think there's 15, 16, 17. I think 17 if you count the optional boss.
I see. Which is a lot. I mean, in comparison to like, I don't know. I mean, the Souls games tend to have a decent amount of bosses.
Which is crazy. You know, like thinking about that, like Dark Souls 3 had a lot. Like I feel like it felt like every time you went around. But for the most part, like thinking back to Dark Souls, how many bosses did it actually have? Actually, I remember like one day I was like, when it first came out, I was like snapping pictures every time I got to a boss fight. Had quite a few. And then you have the 4 major lords. And in Demon Souls, you had 5 archdemons, and then the final boss.
That's right.
Were your big baddies.
Which, dude, the end?
It's typical Souls game.
Kind of, not really. Actually, it's not. It's tough. I think it's typical in tighter, smaller areas that are quite ironic moments in Dark Souls games. But in my opinion, I don't think it's an overlying characteristic because other Dark Souls games, I don't want to say much more about it. I don't want to say a left or right opinionating, biased, or I don't want to say whether it was easy or hard. This boss.
Oh, I thought you were just meaning like the actual ending. You're talking about the final boss.
I meant like the final boss. You know, like I'm not gonna say
the final boss is its own thing.
It's interesting. Sure. You guys need to play it.
Guarantee it's better than your Mortal Shell experience.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. It's just so interesting. It was so weird to play. Like this is Demon Souls. Get to the end. This is what this is now.
Yeah.
I don't want to say any more of it.
No, it's fine. So Demon Souls is its own thing.
Definitely, I think I struggle with it. I'm going to say that just as short opinion. I struggled a fucking ton with this game. A ton.
You were texting me all the time.
God.
Like, bro, I can't do this
struggled. Game. But I do think it's worth it to get through it and play it through. And respect FromSoftware. Talking about respect earlier. Respect Demon Souls because it was the foundation of where and how Elden Ring got to where it is.
Yeah,
now.
And I think it's super cool. And I think that's maybe why I love it so much is because not only is it
history.
Not only is it a great game when you accept it for what it is. I think the biggest problem, Demon Souls was my first Souls game, right? And then Dark Souls was my second one, and then Dark Souls 2. Like I went through the progression. Your first Souls game was Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
So there are already 3 games and DLCs behind you.
I was a little I don't necessarily want to call it pampered, but
yeah. What are you doing?
I bet it just went off.
Why?
Because we started the timer late.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we fucking did.
He's freaking out. Fine, get up and look. I guarantee it's still rolling.
We're about to take a break, though.
We're going to take a break. While I was mid-sentence, I was trying to finish my point. Now I don't remember what it is.
Well, I'm just camera aware.
All right, we'll be right back.
Brother.
Go check it. Go check it. It's probably on for 5 more seconds.
It is.
And
welcome back. How we doing, Doc?
We did that thing again where you said welcome back. I said we're back.
Week after week.
We need to like plan on that. So yeah, we're back. This is the shorts. We're talking Demon Souls, even though for like the first 15 minutes we talked about all kinds of random stuff. We were just playing with controllers.
We were actually testing out controllers, comparing the
PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5 controllers and the Xbox Series X controller.
Xbox Series X. What's that game called?
Forza.
The Forza controller is super sick.
Ooh, makes me. You know what? GT7 came out.
GT7.
Gran Turismo 7's out. Came out I think last week. I almost bought it. I really want to buy.
I've never been like a big racing game person, but after you got me that controller for Christmas, I'm like, in feeling the back of it, I would kind of enjoy playing like a. I used to like Need for Speed, Underground 2.
Underground 2 is probably the greatest Need for Speed game ever.
It was a lot of fun.
I was a big fan of Need for Speed Most Wanted, I think.
I don't think I played that one because it was on the newer
really
consoles, right?
PS2.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't paying attention.
Undergrounds.
Kingdom Hearts took over my life, dude. If I had a PS2.
Kingdom Hearts. That may happen. So
but
we're talking about Demon Souls. So we're talking about Demon Souls. We're talking about the game is different from its predecessors in many ways, and that's actually the detractor. We were just talking about where you started with Dark Souls 3 as your first Souls. I started with Demon Souls, so I've grown with the appreciation of how much better these games just gotten better and gotten better and gotten better, then gotten worse and then gotten the best.
And
because Dark Souls 3 was in there.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
In my opinion, it kind of got I got a little pampered by starting with a FromSoftware game that was already pretty fleshed out.
It was fleshed out, and it was specifically designed in a friendlier manner to bring more people in. I always say it's the easiest one, and in my opinion, it is.
Oh, it's super easy,
but it's so user friendly.
That's what it is.
The entry level is really easy. Demon Souls, the entry level of Demon Souls is up here.
It's very
very
high.
Very steep. It's actually more steep than Elden Ring, and I think Elden Ring is very high.
Well, see, this is an interesting conversation, I think, because it's the range of accessibility is wider in Elden Ring. I think the ceiling is super high, where in order to achieve quote unquote greatness in that game, you have to work really hard. But if you want to just you can dibble and dabble in that game for a long time and accomplish very little while still spending a lot of time in it, which I know some people that are playing it now and I've reached out to, chatted with, that have never played Souls games before. And more often than not, I think my number one question in this game for new people that I'm talking to about it, which let us know in the comments below, how many bosses have you beat? That's because there's the game's in Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, it's just riddled with bosses and stuff like that.
I think there's 83. I think there's 83 bosses.
That's so crazy.
And 70 of those bosses are unique.
Wow.
The other ones are there's
reskin.
I've seen people here's a thing, man. I want to say something about bosses. There's a difference between a high level difficult enemy and a boss. So many people are oh, they're just repeating bosses and repeating bosses. There are repeated bosses in Elden Ring. That's a fact.
There are.
Some of these are, here's the first time you fight it, here's the second time you fight it, and it's a different fight. It's similar because of the first one, it's based off the same thing. Yeah. Is that a repeat of a boss? Technically, yes. But there's these Crucible Knights.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Man, and there's several Crucible Knights, and a couple of them are bosses. Some of them are just enemies.
Just enemies.
They're just enemies just chilling. And is that reusing a boss? Maybe, sure, technically in the instances,
I think it's thematic.
In the instances that they are bosses, I think it is. But a lot of the time, it's just people dealing with really strong enemies. Dude, I walked into an area and I'm like, holy crap, a boss already? It's a giant freaking dragon. Way bigger than any of these other dragons we've seen.
Yeah, the massive one?
No, not even the big white one in Khalid. No, I'm somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Big, huge dragon. I'm like, holy crap, they're just dropping a boss right here. That's crazy. Killed it. Man, I'm like, oh. Didn't even think there was no boss health bar.
Oh, yeah.
Was no boss health bar.
Yeah.
I just oh, it's a boss. Ooh. Then walked around the corner. There's just two more of them just chilling. I'm like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
Holy crap. But it's not a boss.
There's a clear defining factor between if it's a boss or if it's a high-leveled enemy. And like you said, like in terms of reasoning, because Cole, actually, a buddy of mine that's playing the game with me, he brought it up to me, and he was like, yeah, they've kind of reused this body, this like AI fighter style enemy several times. Some of them have different weapons. They oftentimes have similar abilities, because the one that you actually fight in a boss fight has that like turns into like an angel, and it like swoops down. It has a dragon tail that sweeps.
Yeah, the ones that are enemies do the exact same thing.
They do the exact same thing.
And it's terrifying.
And there's interesting things that some of them do that others don't. Well, they do still do them, but they do it in a different way. So
and it's
like,
nice. I think that's nice.
I think that's cool, because in my opinion, when I see that, you kind of saw that sometimes, maybe not, but Lothric Knights. Maybe not in the same way, because you would see how a knight there's like soldiers and then there's knights. There was a hierarchy of enemies, and it seems like with there being several Crucible Knights, some of those Crucible Knights, if you're open enough to giving an enemy a backstory, which I think that FromSoftware people do, even on the little enemies, it just seems like some of those Crucible Knights rose above other Crucible Knights, and they're just
right. I mean,
they're just like pronounced Crucible Knights.
Like I haven't seen a duplicate of like Renala.
Yeah, there's clearly some enemies that are on their own, but it's okay for there to be a model. Call it a model if there's because there's like the fire monks, for example. Tons of normal. Clearly there's no fire monk bosses, but there's plenty of fire monks that you fight throughout the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That are like larger enemies.
Why aren't people complaining about all the individual? Why aren't all the individuals different?
Right. This is just a similar thing, but maybe a few of those Crucible Knights have gone far beyond the normal capacity of like a normal Crucible Knight, and now they're a fucking badass that's just like crushing.
It's just like the giants. Like there are multiple giants. You don't just have one giant.
Right, there's multiple giants, but there are a couple of giants that stand out and are bosses, like the flying giants. I don't know if they're necessarily giants, but do you know what I'm talking about? There's flying giants that have spears. It's they're similar to gargoyles in Dark Souls 3, big black. I know one of them's standing guard in the top right of the map, protecting that castle you go in.
Yeah, it's a gargoyle.
Is it just called a gargoyle?
It might be called a gargoyle golem.
Oh,
Technically, it's a golem, I guess, but it's technically a gargoyle.
Okay, I thought it was.
Anyway, we're talking about Elden Ring again. We're supposed to be talking about Demon Souls. Here's the thing:
we might have to reach
Demon Souls. The problem is Demon Souls is so good, but now it's just being outshined by all the Souls games are being outshined by Elden Ring right now, and we're literally talking about it's my favorite Souls game, and then Elden Ring is my favorite Elden Ring game.
Well, I think the conversation
because it's different. Like Dark Souls is the first Souls game, and the other ones are just good. And Demon Souls is the first Souls game. And it's my favorite Souls game, and it always will be. But that doesn't, it's also the bottom. It's the bottom of the litter. You know what I mean? So everything above it is better in its own regard. OG people are going to always think Demon Souls is great and amazing game. You coming into it, you're the one that came into it blind. You're the one who had your own struggles. You understand why, but you also don't like the game. I don't think you hate the game.
No, it's not that. It's just I hate how, and I know this is going to be quite an opposition to your opinion. In a lot of ways, I think that paying homage to something is wonderful, and paying honor and respect to something is highly moral and very respectful. But when you pay reverence so deeply to something, that and I love, it's not that I don't love Souls games. I wanted to go into Demon Souls absolutely adoring it because it was the original. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm gonna play the classic. Let's go, baby. But it's like that game gets so highly revered by the people that do love it that when I go into it, I'm so heavily disappointed. I am encountered with two different things: a confliction with myself because I love Souls games, but I don't love this one. And I know why. Obviously, I delve into that. I'm a critical thinker or whatever. I think all people are capable of that. And then the second thing is when I said this on the last episode or maybe on the quarterly or something, that I love getting the opportunity to talk with other people about their favorite game.
Yeah.
This being one of yours.
This is my favorite. Like it's definitely on my top list. Of
right.
If I had to pick a couple favorite games from every like PlayStation console, this is definitely my PS3 favorites.
And I think that's super fair because it's like, it's a super cool game, man. But like when it gets revered so highly, the second part of my emotion, and I get disappointed. The second part of it is like, man, I would love to see the side that people really love this game for and like really try to understand, because I don't, like, to the core where I sit here playing this game, I'm texting you like, whether it be, oh, this is cool, 95% of the time I was like, this sucks.
And it's and I said this before, it's because you played Dark Souls 3 first.
Yes.
You played a game that's literally a decade and a half later. Well, no, maybe 10 years. Like that's later. Has 2 games between them. Yeah, and it's just super polished, and I mean, it's good.
And that's the thing about like Demon Souls.
You didn't have to deal. Dark Souls 3 is even level design is completely different and is nothing like Demon Souls.
I think that Dark Souls 3 as like, because it's definitely the last Dark Souls game that's been released. Dark Souls game. Yeah. If you're comparing the two, I think Dark Souls 3, minus the clunkiness and maybe the mechanical, graphical, controller, physics errors of Demon Souls, if we're excluding those, I think that Dark Souls 3 is easier, boss to boss, fight to fight, level to level, but there's so many like slipping issues. There's certain levels in Demon Souls where you slip and die.
Oh, and yeah.
You do that a lot in Dark Souls and other Souls games a lot,
too. There definitely is. But it's a lot. Like,
it's a lot more.
I should say this. I love Demon Souls, but I understand and I fully...
Also on the PS3 version, it's different.
The PS3...
The PS3 version's so clunky.
The version in and of itself has its flaws. The problem of 0 checkpoints. Like, we just did a thing. I showed you a boss where you didn't even know. You're like, oh, I didn't even know. And it's annoying. You have to run through this like maze of things and get through this stuff. Then you get to the boss. And
sometimes you get a shortcut.
That has 0 shortcut.
Yeah, sometimes you get it, but
if that boss kills you, and I almost died, if that boss kills you, you have to do that entire thing again.
All the enemies respond to
annoying enemies, annoying things.
And they did not want you running like so in other Souls games.
It's just how it is.
Yeah, I think that they had through time, obviously because it's flushed out, they had kind of learned, okay, let's maybe give them access to, they have to work through the level, but then give them a point where they can be like, okay, I'm here. Here's the boss fight. If I keep dying at the boss fight, I should just be able to run to the boss fight because I know I can take it on. I think sometimes making the player fight and work to the boss fight is fine. But
I think that's where the difference is because in Dark Souls, that's when you started getting the bonfires, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So you could go to different bonfires, and bonfires were few and far between, really. They weren't necessarily super close.
Dark Souls 3 is like bonfire, 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 bonfire.
Yeah. So you get to this thing where you're like, boom, here's the start of an area. You expect 1 or 2 bonfires, and then you expect a boss. It just limits the amount of running from the bonfire to the boss that you got in Demon Souls.
It's like a quality of life thing in my opinion.
Demon Souls, I know you had this issue before, but Demon Souls does expect you to fight the enemies in between. It's designed to fight the enemies in between because the areas where until you learn it, until you like, boom, I know that path no matter what. I know where I can roll and where I can dodge and get around the enemy. Bro, there was a staircase, multiple staircases I went down where it's you and there's one enemy on that staircase. And if that enemy hits you, you're dead. If the enemy doesn't hit you, you hit them and they might be dead.
Yeah.
And if you try to dodge, the only way you can go is off the stairs to death. Like, you have to make an option, and those are your only choices.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice almost all the fucking time. In Demon Souls, dude, you're always rolling the dice.
But I love the game, and
I respect
there are levels that I absolutely hate. Like shoot, I forget what it's called. The very last one, World 5.
Fucking primo Blight Town.
Basically Blight Town. Basically Blight Town. And it's just god awful. Like, it's so bad, and it is the worst series of levels in the game. Everyone will tell you that. And it's not because they're difficult. It's because the level design embraces this slippery slope. You make one bad choice, you fall off the edge and you're dead.
And not only
you're walking on planks the whole time.
Yeah, it's not only that if you make one false move, you could be dead. It's also that enemies are fucking out to get you. There are traps.
They're so crazy.
There are, like, you could be, even early on in the game, be walking and then a worm just that you had never seen that before. There was never, like, you saw one from afar. What the fuck is that? I need to approach it with some tactile. There's worm in the ground, and now it's throwing you off of a cliff.
Demon Souls is the original Get Good Souls game.
And that's where it came from. It's a troll.
You just had... You just had to learn. And I've always said, I don't think these games are hard. They are hard. But, like, in my brain, they're systematic. They're challenging. They're problem solving. They're puzzles at, like, without being in a blatant puzzle. There's a method to what you're doing. There's always an answer. There's always a way around. There's always a way to kill it. Every time.
And
most of the time, people say, no, I want to get through this. So they rush it when the game is really saying, slow down. Take your time. Take a moment. And just do it. And you'll do it right the first time. But if you don't have the patience to do it, you're going to die over and over again. All the Souls games, every one of them teaches patience.
I was just about to say that.
One person cares about patience. They say, nope, I'm doing this. And then they struggle and die and die.
Yeah. And that's where, and I think that's probably the underlying morals to a Souls game, Soulsborne or Soulsborne Ring, a Soulsborne Ring game, is that it's teaching you patience and perseverance. No matter how long something takes, it's going to take time, whether it take 10 hours, 20 hours, or 100 hours. That's irrelevant. The fact is completion. Mm-hmm. Like, it can be done. It can be completed if you put time, effort into it, and you persevere through that. Get around it. There's always an answer, and it's only really, it's like putting a mirror in front of yourself and challenging yourself truly. How far are you? What do you really want it? This is do you, like, the real question with Demon Souls, in my opinion, is how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be able to say that you've beat Demon Souls?
I almost have platinum.
Truly,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I can say that I've done everything.
So you can, and this is from, as we've said, like, your experience being a Demon Souls player to the Dark Souls player, going back and touching on it. Again, I actually
want to go back on the PS3 and get platinum on the PS3 and platinum on the PS5.
Ugh. God, have fun with that. Truly have fun with that.
It'll actually be easier on the PS3, probably.
I bet there's less to it, yeah. But again, the real question, I think, with Demon Souls, and to all of the Souls players that you think you're Souls players and you've never beat Demon Souls, how bad do you want it? Because you need to ask yourself that question before getting into it. Maybe you're super good, because I felt pretty confident with other, I played a lot of DS3. I had played a little bit of Dark Souls 2 as well. I felt pretty confident. There's gonna be some
dude,
things.
Your confidence went out through the window in World 1 2.
I think it's also good to mention this, two things. You're not gonna like this either. There's Souls community, and then there's Demon Souls community.
That's true.
I think
they're very different.
You're not gonna like this. I think the Demon Souls community might be a little toxic because of the differences.
I think, okay, if you want to talk about toxicity in the Souls community, let's talk about freaking Elden Ring and the Souls community at large. There's toxicity.
There's definitely toxicity
in all of them. I don't think Demon Souls is more toxic than Dark Souls. The problem is that people who have played Dark Souls are coming into the Demon Souls community thinking they know what they're talking about, and they simply don't.
But
because it's different verbiage.
It's different.
Is what I mean.
But the thing is, like, look at what they've continued with. This is why, like, they didn't continue with one particular thing that we didn't actually mention in this game, because I don't.
Well, I'm sure there's a reason Dark Souls continued and Demon Souls stopped. That's
right.
why those companies.
You have a little bit, like, if you'd like to explain briefly, I think the world tendency thing, because we didn't really jump into that.
I was going to say we have a little bit left. I was going to ask if you had any questions, like you wanted to ask me specifically about the game. Maybe I could answer.
Well, we've kind of delved, and that's where the toxicity, in my opinion, came from. Is like the differences in it's a fight. I think toxicity is definitely on both sides. It's a toxic conversation to have.
Yeah.
Is the world tendency thing, because they clearly didn't continue with it, because in my opinion it was pretty clunky the way it seems now and not accessible.
Okay. So let me explain this. So there's two things. There's world tendency and there's character tendency. I don't think it's clunky. I think the game doesn't explain it, first off. It is something that is not explained in the game at all. You don't find a menu. You do see a tab that shows tendency, right? And it shows the different tendency of the world and your character.
It almost just looks like morality.
It is. It's morality.
It's just what it is.
And so you're basically looking at the screen and you're like, well, what is this?
Yeah, what the fuck does this do?
You just don't know.
I didn't look at it one time.
And see, that's the thing. Like, the only way you would realize something is happening is if you looked at it all the time, right? So world tendency is the state that the world is in, okay? If you do things like kill bosses, I'm going to go fundamental. I'm not going to explain all the...
You should. I keep it pretty bare.
When you kill bosses, you're making the world better.
Making it lighter?
Making it lighter. That's increasing your world tendency. When you're killing NPCs, or when you're dying a lot, it's making the world worse. And those events are what change world tendency.
Now, there's one, I think, important
I shouldn't have said NPCs because NPCs and invaders are tied to personal character tendency. If you kill invaders, you're making the world better. If you kill NPCs, you're making the world worse. And from a moral perspective, you're saving people from invaders, and you're just murdering people. That's the easiest way. Yeah. That's the easiest way to look at it. You're helping the world, so the tendency goes up. You're helping the world, so your character tendency goes up. Do the opposite, it goes down.
Right. That's a pretty
easiest way.
But the one thing I have a question about is the difficulty. Does having a lighter world make the game more difficult?
Having a lighter world does not make the game more difficult. Having a darker world does.
So what about the whole going into soul form thing or body form?
That's why that's where all this stuff gets crazy.
That was my major problem, because you have to play, and again, to not do that. I see, because it started to jump into all that, and I was streaming it, and there was like 7 different people trying to explain it, and basically at the end of the day, everyone was like, don't use it, kill yourself after every boss, play the game with minimal fucking HP.
Right.
All the time.
So the world...
What?
Hold on. The world changed the most when you died while in human form. If anyone's played a Souls game, you're familiar with human form.
Human form, Ember, non-hollow, like human form.
Humanity. Cool.
Humanity, yeah.
When you're in that state, typically in a Souls game, you always got invaded while in human form.
Yeah.
Exact same thing in Demon Souls. You always get invaded. When you die as a human, in the world, that lowers the world tendency. That's one of the conditions to lower the world tendency. So when world tendency goes down, enemies have more health, enemies hit harder. So the game is harder. So that's why everyone's like, if you're human, don't die in the world, die in the Nexus, because most likely
because when you kill a boss, you regain your body
humanity.
form. Yeah.
And that's why people say that, because if you're human, you're only making the game harder every single time you go in, and you're human.
Well, then you just don't die. Just don't.
Just don't die.
That's the point. Just don't die.
But see, and that's what I'm saying. It's like most likely you're going to die. Most likely,
obviously, you're probably going to die. So especially
it's just
slippery
better.
As this game is.
It's just better, instead of wasting an item that you
eye.
don't get all the time or is very expensive. Just get used to not having the full health.
But I was under the circumstance
as opposed to making the game harder.
But the thing, and I know that Dark Souls players are like this too, but when I was on stream, people were so adamant, like, you need to do this. You have to do this. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything.
That's
I
true.
just got this game for my friend that I'm playing. Like, I don't have to do anything. I just need to play the fucking game. Like, so I went through this experience on stream where everyone was like, you have to do this. You have to do this one thing. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to play the game with minimal HP the whole fucking time and disregard that I could even use the ephemeral eyes. And then we pulled up my profile today. You know how many I had? 19 ephemeral eyes.
And the very first thing I did when I played it is popped one to become human.
And my HP went, burn.
It was the first thing I did.
And then you went and crushed a boss with it. So funny, dude.
It's super funny, and it's so true. So I understand there's
every
there's a little bit of toxicity
that.
there. I don't know that that's that specific. We should do an update on toxic.
Yeah, just toxic gaming.
Because we're getting very close to the end and we can't keep talking. I don't necessarily know that is toxic behavior. I agree that it is aggressive behavior and it's annoying behavior.
I think it stems from having an appreciation and love for the game.
I think you should have just been like, guys, I'm not doing this stuff. I'm going to do what I want. Just stop. Like, it's cool because everyone wanted to explain, like, why and this and that. And you did ask. You're like, well, why though? And everyone's trying to talk. And it's a mechanic that's not explained that people figured out. Original Demon's Souls players, they figured out over time.
Yeah.
They learned what made it go up, what made it go down. Why did it do this? What did it do? And what does it do? Like, depending on if the world tendency is pure white or pure dark, new paths open up in the level. New items are available.
Yeah, of course.
Like, all kinds of stuff happens. And so by learning that, you just get an appreciation and a way to, it's just another puzzle to solve in Demon's Souls.
Yeah. I think that's true overall. It's teaching you something.
That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to talk about this game. I didn't think we were going to keep going this long, but we're just going to have to stop.
Yeah, we will.
Where can they find you?
You can find me really on anywhere. I don't have my YouTube up together yet, so I keep saying that every once in a while. But you can find me on Twitch, NevrEndingPants with a second E, never. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Doc, baby, where they can find you?
All the usual places, RX_Bishop_MD. And if you're not good,
get good.
We'll probably have a few more seconds before the camera cuts out.
Demon's Souls players gotta get good, man. I have to get good.